recording it. All right, dude. How's the baby? How's life right now? Really, I'm recording it. I know you're on a lot of other podcasts nowadays, so I started recording it. So you have the heads up. Um, uh, guys and gents, girls and gents. This is a good friend of mine. His name's Tony Mendez. Okay, Tony Mendez is a successful American entrepreneur that is pretty much self-made to a large extent. He's been able to conquer adversity to a large amount and is now even featured by large magazines and publications in the health world, making him a true expert. For anybody tuning in right now that wants to learn how to scale your business, he does that as well. Master salesman and master influencer, we have Anthony Mendez today here, who started up and became massively successful through his own efforts, through his own ideas, his own visions, and his own success mindset. So, Tony, just to kind of break it down, the podcast for here, because I know you're in a lot of them, and I know you're doing this one to kind of like do me a favor and look out for me. I'm gonna keep as I shake hands, whatever you need. I'm gonna just be here throughout like all of it, because I just kind of roll like that. Anybody else can kind of just fuck off, politically correct wise, because this is that's just the way it is, to be honest with you. So this is life success and winning social dynamics. So pretty much anybody that has a mindset that other people could learn from, I believe a large part of that has to do with your social skills, because you have all these brilliant ideas, right? And you have to be able to communicate them, like no matter what. And I think you get me coming up, you've been able to master, you get me your social skills to like a large degree, where people just kind of pay attention to you when you walk in a room, when you articulate ideas, when you're painting a vision, when you're pitching a new business venture, or how somebody could change their life with you because of testimonials, because of the past results, because you could do that, because it's virtually guaranteed. They just have to put in the work, they have to be coachable, and everything else that has to do with their mindset and the skills and the actions that combine with the social, all of it. And a lot of that is going to be how you go out into the world, how you present yourself. Those are going to be your social skills. How do people see you? What kind of impression do they get? And are you somebody they can trust? So, I mean, I know this was a pretty good introduction. I know you could appreciate that.
Definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it.
How would you want to like, if you were to kind of share a little bit about yourself, if you have like maybe a story or spiel, so people kind of a lot of people are going to be tuning in, and especially now with the marketing I'm putting in. But how would you want the world to see you? Maybe however you want it, however you want it. You have the
Yeah,
stage.
I guess say I'll say off the bat, most people knowing me as I got into my profession, in the health and fitness field, started off as a personal trainer. So I started way back in Bally's, 20 when I was 17 years old, back in 2010, 2011. And that's what catapulted me to where I'm at today. And it was through that hard work, that grit, that understanding that I had to grow and learn and put myself with the right people that took me to where I'm at today. But I went through my stages. I went from Bally's, LA Fitness, then I went to New York,
Humbly.
moved humbly, man, have to be humble. Moved to New York for almost half a year, came studied at Equinox Academy, came back to Miami, went to Coral Gables and worked for Equinox for 3 years. Hit my social media off the ground very, very hard back in 2013, 2014. And that's kind of where things changed for me. It was pretty much that moment that made me realize there was something special in the social media space, and I can really touch millions of lives without having to go to multiple places. I can be doing everything from here and be able to expand my knowledge, my lessons, what I want to teach through this one
Right.
platform, or through these multiple platforms on one device. And to me, I thought that was powerful, especially during the early stages of social media, seeing the growth rapidly and just getting into that, and tapping into that right when the golden era was really great for me, and it really helped me tremendously to spark something up new. So from there, I literally
Yeah.
had to make a decision,
100%.
and I left the Equinox space. I chose my social media Instagram account over staying at Equinox, and I had to pick and choose because I kind of got into a thing with them where they didn't want me doing the Instagram, and they were back and forth
It's
and
a
like,
good
hey,
gym too, man.
oh yeah,
That's a world
and
class gym. Like a lot of
it's a
millionaires, a lot of
it's
people that are making 6, 7, 8 figures, maybe more, just show up to celebrities. Maybe like Anthony
it
Mendez
is.
himself, they show up there to work out, but used to work there. Okay.
It is a world class gym. So, and even then being, even when you even at the time being at Equinox, I made sure to take advantage of it being a world-class gym, making sure I connected with the right people, making sure that I put myself around the right people. Because I will tell you something, one thing I did learn that stuck to me today was, at Equinox was I'm probably at one of the biggest networking spots ever right now in the country, being at Equinox with everybody having their guards down. And the reason why I say everybody
Ryan
having
Serhant says that.
their guards down is
You're just
because
working
if
out.
yep, you're just working out, and people are there to be who they are. People are there to want to have their time to just let their windows down of being the businessman or being the owner, the CEO. They don't want to be that in the gym. Um,
Right.
so you're able to talk to these people on a whole different level, and you're be able to vibe with them on a whole different level, and you actually get the chance to talk to them. Whereas if you're in a seminar, a webinar, an event, a workshop, these people know that you're there for one thing. You want business. You want to connect with them because you're looking for business. You're looking for that kind of relationship where they might not want to give you that right there and then, or might not be able to give everybody that because it's a huge seminar and they know what people are going there for. But if you're at a gym setting, with this person here, it's a whole different ballgame. So when I approached, that's how I was able to become a successful personal trainer, was when I approached the whole playing format differently, and I was just me, and I was there as the coach and as another person in the gym, helping you, looking you as a person, not a business owner, not a CEO, not trying to take advantage, or looking at you like, hey, this is a guy that I want to be able to, take all this info from, or let me just get what I can out of him. No, it wasn't like that. It was more about like, okay, this is somebody who I can talk to, help on my
Right.
side. He's here in the gym. He's in my environment. Let me make this as
Very
comfortable
smart, by the way, how you
for
said
him.
that, because it is your environment, and a lot of people I think can get they can fall into peer pressure or kind of feel intimidated when they're around people that maybe are playing like at larger levels. I don't know if you still get that or if you don't. Maybe you do,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't. I'm not sure. I know I get that, but you get me when you knock on doors because you're much more successful than I am now. I'm also much younger than you, but you're much more successful than I am. How old are you? You're like 26, 27, 28. I think you're a good role model. I know you're one of my role models.
Turned 28. Hey, thank you. Just turned 28 November.
And a lot of people can maybe feel intimidated. But I think if you're a good person, and Brad Lee says this a lot, I'm gonna bring him up by the way tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, hey, listen, because I've been kind of building the relationship with him, and that's what he teaches too. He's like, just build a relationship with other people. Forget about everything else. Everybody else is trying to do everything else. Just focus on the
Mm-hmm.
relationship. That's it. How can you best serve them? What are the best things that you could do for them? And I've learned this from a lot of other sales experts because I'm an expert when it comes to sales. I put on over 10,000 hours. I went to Harvard. I got mentored by the Wolf of Wall Street's previous one of his old colleagues that the movie was about. So I got to learn the straight line system in a very distinct level when I can go ahead and I can cold call somebody and I can kind of just make the world you get me explode. And I'm the one they're speaking with, they're listening to, or they're watching. When I'm on the phone with them back over there. But I mean, how would you describe? You get me? Like how did you like? Because I'm sure you've had like your adversities and you're much more successful now. I mean, how what are some things that other people tuning in that were some of like your strongest strategy playing fields? I know networking's a big one. You're always going for relationships. You're always going there to over deliver to kind of really just serve, but from the soul, from the heart. They
Mm.
accept it, great. If they don't, that's just who you are. You feel great, and they did you a favor. But what are some other things that you did specifically for yourself to like kind of just build yourself, go out? Because you probably had different mindsets. You probably had a bunch of people that you get me were just not in your favor, that you were maybe getting opposition then, but you were just like, dude, I got this. Because you did, you get me. Maybe it wasn't as cool like that. Maybe it was. Maybe it was even cooler. But you had it, and you were able to strive through it. You were able to persist, and you were able to make fireworks exploding. And you're like, you're living a life that a lot of people are like, they envision or they dream. People that are in high school, people that are in middle school, or people that are on the sidelines. You get me, professors, other salesmen. You get me, other business owners that watch this, which is really neat. Like, how would you give it to everybody else? You get me, in a way where it's like, this is how I want to be remembered. And you get me, you having the credibility of that and somebody that people can learn and they can just Google you as they do now naturally, right? But like, how would you
Sounds good.
describe that now?
So off the bat, I would say my biggest thing is, as for me, going through this world of, entrepreneurship, business, health, fitness, the number one thing I would say for people to remember me is that Anthony's the guy when you need, or when you're looking for to connect you with anybody you need to be connected with. And that's one of my biggest thing is I love to be
The
the connector of
connector.
connector of connectors. And everybody knows that if they need a connection, I usually got it. And I love that. I love that feeling
It's a
of
power
like, man,
play
I
in a good way
connected this person in a good way.
because you
Exactly.
create
And
value out of nowhere. And you being that person, it is a significant power play. There was a guy that Bradley was good friends with himself. He's a multimillionaire. He was that same guy. He'd do the same thing, same mindset that
yep,
you're expressing right now. Being massively successful and that other people can tune in.
100%. And I would tell people at the bat, you have to understand that when you're starting this shit, you have to be a giver, and less of a receiver. And as you grow and you get to a certain point, then you can turn some of those skill sets you have into later on receiving things back for the connections you've made, for the things you've done, because now you're turning this into your business. Now you're turning this into part of your framework. And now you can serve people at a very high level where now you're getting compensated even for connecting people to other people, and those are called connection fees. So you
Mm,
get to a certain level, you can do certain things like this.
taking
You
notes.
can do certain things like that. Yep, hell yeah. But you got to understand when you're going through anything, and this is not just what I'm talking about now, but literally anything, you got to be able to give first. You got to give first. You got to give first. And I think too many people get scared to either give, or they feel like, oh, my material is so good that I shouldn't give that. And what I mean by give is give enough, and give where you need to set yourself apart, and you need to create a name for yourself first. Because if you are holding yourself back thinking that, oh man, I'm the shit, I don't need to give anything to anybody, and nobody knows who you are, what I'm going to tell you, you lost.
It's a bad
Because
mindset too, man.
look at
Because they're
Gary
just trying
Vee.
to get stuff from everybody. You get me?
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
sure you
And you
get pitched
see,
like 100 times. People are like, do this, do this, do this, and I mean, it's kind of like you have like an automatic pilot system where it's just like,
mhm,
or block or delete or whatever. Yeah,
yep. Look at Gary Vee, for example, a guy who's so successful and he still gives and gives and gives and gives and doesn't have to. He really doesn't have to. He can charge for all the content he's doing right now and it's valuable, but he still gives. So imagine somebody who doesn't have neck in the game, who doesn't, and is really not being humble enough to step in and give something of some kind. And it doesn't mean give your program away. What this means is just give information, give value, give resources, give yourself to people. And when you start doing that more and more, you'll start seeing you build a community, you'll build a following, you'll build a culture. And those people are the ones later on that will buy your higher ticket stuff, that will buy into your programs, that will buy into your products, into your services, because they've already been given so much that they believe in you, and they've tested out and they've tried some of your tactics or
it
samples, whatever it is
works.
that you're pushing out, and it works. So you got to be a giver before you're a receiver. So go out there and start giving. That's one of the biggest things that I did. I made sure I gave and I gave
I'm
and I
big on that,
gave.
by the way. Just
Huge,
fun.
huge. And you have to be every single day, and give as much as, and you gotta understand that when you hit certain levels, there's different levels of giving, because there's certain groups that you've given, and now that you've given for years to that group, now you can start receiving. And then now you're in another tier. So now you have to start giving to a different tier of people. And then when you break that tier, you can start receiving. And then you get to a higher tier, and you have to give to those people and give to that level of tier of people, and then start receiving again. So you got to understand that giving never stops. You just
Absolutely.
hit different levels of when you do it and when you can start receiving.
How would you describe that? Because you said there's different tiers to it. I'm gonna call this the art of giving. That's what we're gonna call. If you
Hmm.
have a better name, you can just like you can ping me.
All
You can
good.
you can. Okay. I mean, how would you describe that? You get me? Like, what are some good strategies? I know you feel good naturally doing it. I know that you get me. You're somebody that people can look up to like that. Um, what are some strategies if you were to get like on the strategy side, in addition to having that giver mindset, which is a
Hmm.
reshifter for I think most people.
Yep.
I think like
Yep.
maybe like 80%. I'd say like
Yep.
most 80, 70. Like I'd say most. Um, like how would you describe like certain strategies? Because now it's a different mindset. It's like a mindset of gratitude. It's a
Mhm.
mindset of just giving. It's a mindset like listen, I worked on myself high enough. I am a person of value. You get me serve all these people that I have. You get me in like my parameter, right? What are some strategies that you'd say you'd used or have used? You get me to network and connect. You
Mhm.
get me because you're all over the place now on Instagram. I'd say, and I'd say that as a friend, and I think that's amazing. Whether you appreciate it or if you don't, I give my sincere
Thank you.
appreciation. But uh how is that like for you, like what would be some strategies in in how you do it? Like I would FedEx you a package, right? I'll go on the Uber app and I'll order you Starbucks if you're close by, right? Because I do sales like that. Or for
Mhm.
example, you get me after I close a deal, after you get me understanding certain little things about you, I'll send you a special tailored gift. Like let's say somebody you get me had kids, like this for example. Think you and Jenny are like beautiful and you're a successful dad and like you have like kids and like you have this life and you're on TV now and you're on all these Instagrams and you're doing stuff, and I think other people can should admire that and buy into it because they can do it too, right? They just have to, surround themselves with people like that, pick their brain in whatever area is best. You get me, pay them for coaching if that's an option, and every other way possible to kind of just get in, right? So, I mean, what are some strategies that you use, for example, that are good for you? Like, I would send you like a package. I'd send like baby clothes, maybe like
Mhm.
Jordan this or Calvin Klein that, if it's a guy or a girl. What is it? Is it a boy?
It's a
Boy
girl,
or girl? It's
little
a girl.
girl.
Okay, cool, cool. That's badass, badass. Maybe I'll send them a gift. But I mean, like, what are strategies that you've used like that are really good, that are neat that you've used? Because that's a reshifter
Mhm.
in mindset, and just trying to break it down the way that I was doing. Because I believe in neurolinguistics programming, the processes of like the mind,
Mhm.
right? Because if you're in a certain state, you're going to perform at a certain level. If you feel like you're limited, you're going to perform at a limited state. If you have good body language, and Tony Robbins is huge on this. You get me? You're like this, if you feel like you're like this, and you're going to naturally have more confidence, right, just naturally. Or for example, let's say that you're wearing nicer clothes versus you get me clothes that's not as nice, like you look super awesome. Let's say that you get me, maybe you had like a tank top or something on. um Either way, you have that authentic confidence, which is good, but you're going to feel naturally better maybe in the custom suit that was made for you, or whatever your favorite wearing is. like
Unless
like
you're wearing a tank top and you're jacked and ripped, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, freaking hey, man, just show off the six pack abs. Don't even wear the tank top. Just go like this. You get
There
me, and
you
you'll be
go.
good. Just to go in, right? But you can take it right off, back off when you come out, like you said, which is awesome. I think it's funny. I think it's good. Haha. But I mean, how would you get me? Like, what are some strategies that you use in gifting? And because I'm trying to break down the process at the same time as you describe it, so other people can use it, and then they have like specific little intricacies that maybe most
Mhm.
people won't catch on, but these are some of your advanced
Yeah.
points that everybody else could be able to catch on because I'm breaking down the little intricacies,
Mhm.
which they
So
can take.
I'm gonna make it very simple, and then I'll move up from there.
Okay, badass.
It's very easy. There's so many ways to give, and I'll tell you one of the biggest ways you can give without even you having to put a dollar in it is create good content, create good valuable content. So many people think giving is just gifts and just this, even though it is, and I do it myself. It's a great way, but you can just start by creating content. If you're somebody who wants to give people by creating good valuable content. And when I mean by good valuable content, this doesn't mean that it has to be the most graphic driven high performing video, whatever it is. No, it just means that the context of your content is very good. It's driving value. So whatever it is that you're pushing, you're selling, or that you're promoting, or if it's health related, well, give value about health, give value about fitness, give value about sales, give a tip, maybe give a strategy, give a tactic. That's good value. You're giving that for free. That's a gift that you're giving out to people into the world for free. You're giving value. Gary Vee does it all the time. Gary Vee's always pushing free, hardcore, high performing content that have tactic strategies and good value behind it. So you can start off by there. It doesn't even have to be a gift. So number one, content. Your content itself can be a high value driven way of giving out free things without having to literally pay for it. Another way that you can do this, you can literally give a small group class or small group, even live training, where you can just give certain key elements see certain key pointers of certain things you want to talk about, and create value out of that. Hey guys, join in my free, sales training, or join in my free health and fitness boot camp. Drop your email, and right there you're giving value and you're collecting emails too. So right there, you have two ways that you can simply do this without having to spend a single dime on anything, which is the most important. A lot of people are like, well, it's easy for you to say, Anthony, because you're doing well and you have money to spend. Well, it's, guys, I had to start somewhere, and I started by just giving my content away, by just giving all these other strategies and tools away in a way that I'm not jeopardizing my product, but I'm giving them enough to taste what my product is, why my product is so good, and why they should start working
And a
with
little
me,
bit more.
and a little bit more. So what you got to always
Sign
remember
up
is
now.
that
No,
there's
I'm just
always
kidding,
a
but
way.
yes,
Yeah, right. Sign up
it's
now.
it's it's
There's
it's real.
always ways to do it. There's always
It
ways
is.
to do it without having to put money into it. Now, looking into gifts and all that stuff, when gifts are very, very good is if you have clientele that you're working with already, clients that you want to reinforce, and work people that are your employees, or maybe contractors that you've contracted into your team. That's when it's really good to give gifts and little like rewards and stuff like that, because it just shows them a level of appreciation. For me, I feel that works best when it comes to your own team or your clients, and reinforcing them more than even people that don't even know you. Because even then, like, I feel with people don't even know you, when you're trying to just pour the gifts on them, it's just kind of like, okay, what does this guy want?
Depends how
Um,
you do it too. I think your
dep-
intentions are in good are because if I'm going with the intention to build a relationship, because we're always gonna have intentions. But let's say, for example, and I can confidently share with this one as well. Um, when you're going in there, your intention is a big deal. If you have somebody and they have the wrong intention, there's going to be something about them where it's like there's something off. You can't tell what it is. It's a gut feeling though. It's like something doesn't check out. But when your intention is different, you get me. It's just your intention. Like
Mhm.
it's not like you're giving as a strategy. You are the giver, like Anthony says, because this is his podcast. This is his segment. Um, this is the art of giving. With him is like he's the main thing right now. I'm just the host. For example, when you do that, you get me. It's like your intention. It's a big deal because that's gonna be what that person walks away with. Your first impression, the last impression, and throughout the middle, how they felt, those emotions that they were left with. Because that's what's gonna. They're not gonna remember what you said. That person had something that I felt really good when I was around. You could remember what they said, right? Like for example, they did this, they did that, they had this, oh, they had this kind of value, whatnot, which is, what the level up, which is the ladder, which is a larger scale of influence, which I agree everybody should work on. But you got me. It's the intention itself, because that gift giving where it's like, here, let me just do this. It could very easily come off as a bribe. It could very,
Mhm.
it's a fine middle line that you have to balance and walk through, because it could go off to one end or the other one, and you have to know how to walk that line in the middle. But it's the relationship. When you
Yep.
do that, and your intention is there, your money every single
Yeah.
time. It doesn't matter where you're at. You get me? Because you can become friends with the receptionist. You can become friends with just about anybody. Because I worked at Grant Cardone's office when I was much younger. I didn't know about any of this. I was like 18. I just got out of high school, right? And I was working in the shipping department. I wasn't even doing sales. I didn't have anything. I didn't have degree. I had nothing. This was me. I had just gotten through Cardone University to do my friends' things, and I read his books. I was all motivated. I'm like, oh, I was listening to Napoleon Hill, but it's your intention though, and it works at any level, right? Like from a person that could come in with like nothing and like getting hired to, for example, maybe meeting you or meeting a friend like Vic Tippins, which is like a multimillionaire, or I don't know, Chris, or Ivis. He's a friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. I won't say how I know, but he's a good friend of mine. And he's a master salesman. He's good friends. You get me with another master sales trainer that everybody knows that there's a movie about. I don't know. That could be a million of them, right? But I mean, it's your intention, because if you come off like cold, you get me. This is a big thing. This could make you a lot of money if you like, because this little thing could change any kind of interaction when you go into a meeting, anything. You get me? Like I can walk into a building cold right now. I'll close because I could just close. I'll meet whoever it is to meet. I'll get the information I need to get to, and I'll have it, and they'll respond. It doesn't matter who it is anymore. It doesn't matter who it is, because I have the social dynamics behind it. They click. Every, it just clicks. So when you have the intention of that, you get me, and it's good and it's pure. You can use just about anything that you're trying to do at a larger level, as long as you don't cheat yourself, like Anthony was saying earlier, and you give them just a little bit more than enough, right? In giving, I mean, what would be some strategies that you use like in networking? Because I know we've talked about good value content, the context,
Mhm.
kind of over delivering when you do that, right? Be careful with gifts and how you do them, because if you have the wrong intention, it could mess up. Like how would you describe? You get me? Like how you do it in networking? Because I think I could learn myself from this.
Mm.
Like, and a lot of other people are probably going to have a question with this, because I don't think a lot of people teach it right. And what's when you talk with somebody that's successful, it's a different lingo. And when somebody that's not successful, it's a different kind of energy, it's a different kind of like vibe, right? And it's a little it's like
Mhm.
we don't I don't think you have it in books, but it's just something that you kind of understand or you don't understand, like the minuses, so that other people can kind of like how would you describe that, like what are some things that you do in like networking and stuff for yourself?
Well, I'll
Your
for sure say networking and prospecting off the bat. I would say number one
relationships, you're
thing
good at that.
in anything you do is obviously intentional. You got to be intentional, like you said. Everything you do intentional. Same thing when you're working out. When you're out, you got to be intentional with your stuff. So regardless what it is, whenever you're putting energy into something, you got to be intentional with that energy. The ones that are not intentional are the ones that say, "Damn, I have to work so hard today because, and I have to put an extra time in this work because I couldn't finish it because I wasn't intentional during the time that I had to do it." So you need to be intentional throughout your hours, your days, and whatever it is that you're doing, you got to be intentional with it. Now, one of the most important things when you're doing relationships and building relationships or working with a prospect, you got to always remember you need to date before you get married. You can't just get married and expect to get married. Or you can't just go to the wedding. You can't just appear at your wedding and expect to get married if you haven't dated anybody, or if you haven't dated that person. So you have to be able to date before you get married. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in the dating process, what are you doing? You're building relationship, right? As you're dating somebody, you're building relationship. You're getting to know them. You're getting to know who they are. You're understanding
Yeah,
their
yeah,
whys.
yeah,
You're understanding their pain point, their problems, their struggles, their challenges, right? You're seeing,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
what have they done before? What's different, for them moving forward in life. You're getting to understand who this person is. So when you date somebody long enough, eventually marry them. If they're the right person, if they're the right click, which that's the other thing. You can date somebody, but they're not the right person for you. And they might not be the person that aligns with you, and that's okay. And I think there's a lot of problems with a lot of people who are selling, where they want to force something that's not there. So if something doesn't align, and it doesn't align, you have to understand where to cut things off as well, so you're not wasting
absolutely.
your energy and time. So you need to learn how to
Or it's not right for
identify
them,
certain things, or it's
like
not right for you. You got to learn
ethically,
how to.
because you could close them sometimes. But yeah,
Oh, 100% you can, but then guess what? That's going to hurt you in the ass later, because they're going to be the ones not getting the results. And then they're also going to be like, well, this was being forced into me. This wasn't for me. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't, and then that hurts you later on, because you have a bad name. You have a bad review or bad this under your name. I don't want that shit. I don't want to work with people who I'm not meant to work with. I want to work with people aligned with me. So it's the same thing with
so
dating.
you can get them those results.
So you can get them result. When you're dating somebody, you're gonna realize who this person aligns with me, so one day I can marry them. And if it doesn't align with me, then I'm gonna cut it off here and then. Even if you dated them for a little bit, which is has to go through through building a relationship with a process. You have to build a relationship with them for a little bit, until you realize, okay, is this somebody who aligns with me or not? And then when you go for the close is when you go for the marriage. And that's when okay, this is somebody for me. I gotta lock this in. I gotta put that ring on that finger. So understanding that you
Yeah,
have to go through a relationship process, and you have to really be intentional with that. And another big important thing is the way you show up. If you show up drowsy, if you show up unprepared, if you show up not ready, if you show up with a low self-esteem, if you show up with your mind bobbling, if you don't prep before your relationship building, if you don't prep or give yourself 15 minutes to just sink in, do breathing, whatever it is that works for you, align your mindset going into that call, be prepared, so you can show up as the best individual for that person, you lost.
absolutely.
Because at the beginning of every call, or however you do your prospecting, at the beginning part, the introduction is honestly one of the most important parts of that call. The way you show up is going to be the way that the call continues on. And if you don't show up properly, How do you expect that person to show up for you and want to be able to work with you? It ain't gonna happen. So you got to be able to show up properly on that prospect call, so that way you get the result, or more of the result that you're looking for at the end of the day. So showing up is going to be super, super huge. And then the next thing, I think another thing a lot of people make a mistake in is when you go on a date, right? When you go on a date,
Right.
especially as a guy, you don't want to be the rambler. You don't want to be the one rambling on. You don't want to be the one saying all the shit to this person and pouring it. No, you want to be the one sitting in your chair listening to what that person has to say. Listen, guys, listen. You got to just sit back and listen. If you can do that with your prospects, or even when you're
Right.
networking, be the listener. Be the listener. The more you are the listener, the more information you're going to get, the more ammunition you're going to get.
If they
And
listen, if they
if
actually listen,
if they
because
actually listen,
they could just be
it,
trying to talk.
so you got to also
But
too, and listening also means directing conversation the right way. So as a listener, you have to know how to steer the conversation towards the right way. And that means by using the right questions. So not just listening, but directing is going to be very important when it comes to these calls, because it's super easy for a prospect to just steer off towards a whole different direction that has nothing to
absolutely.
do with what we're talking about. And you have to learn how to also realign yourself or bring them back to where the conversation was going by
Right.
asking the right questions. So being a good listener and being a good director is going to be huge. And then another one as well, guys, is being an how do I put this in best
Yep.
words? Finding the best word. You have to learn how to, I'm trying to find the word right. I don't want to use enforcer, but you have to learn how to
How would you try to
put
describe it?
put pressure.
Like
You have
without
to learn.
being politically
Yeah.
correct. Like just like
You have to be
how would you describe
somebody. You have to drive pressure without feeling that pressure, without thinking pressure is bad. Pressure is not bad. You have to learn how to press up on people at the right times in the right places, and then at the same time, you have to learn on how to not make people feel bad. So, because there's a good mix right there. You want enough pressure applied, but enough where it doesn't make that person feel bad or shitty of themselves. Because that's not what we're here to do. We're here to help people. We're not here to make people feel like shit. Because there's a lot of people who come into the sales and they're hardcore and they're like just hacking at you, taking all this shit out, making you feel like shit. People
breathe?
don't like to feel like shit. Number
No.
one, nobody likes to be told that they suck. Nobody likes to be told that they're shitty. Nobody likes to be told that they're doing shit wrong all the time. But on the other end, at the same time, we also have to apply pressure to the point where we make this person realize, hey, you need a change. This isn't working for you anymore. This hasn't been working for you. And making them realize why this might be shitty for them
Through questions,
through questions,
so
but
they can
not
make
in a
that assumption themselves. But yeah, just
exactly. So you want to make sure that these are some of the key components. And this goes for prospecting, networking, whatever you want to call it. Most importantly, listening and directing the conversations is going to be huge when it comes to these things.
how would you build, like what are certain introductions you'd use when you go out there and you're building relationships with people? Because I know that you're one of the things that I'll do for this, for example, and I'd love to kind of get your feedback on this, to be honest, I really would.
Hmm.
I'll go on a person's profile, right? And if I'm just trying to build a relationship with them, like I'll just see things that are there, and I can always provide value to somebody because I always try to put myself as the connector role. I think somebody that's coming up, or anybody generally, it's good to have that role at any level, because when you're coming up and you're doing that, the way I would see it, it's like, hey, listen, you get me. I can still connect you to kind of anything that you want, and I also have these skills that most people in the world don't have at any age. I've tested them. Like I just have
Hmm.
over 10,000 hours. Like this is specifically like my thing. Um, and then when you're at a higher level, it's like, well, you're still that guy. You're just that guy at a higher level with all those new skills, with all those new added benefits, but you're still connecting everybody. So all those people that you created relationships with, because John needed to meet Debbie. Well, now Debbie met John, and they ended up giving me matchmaking. And Mendez was the Cupid, like in that he was the
Hmm.
Eros, right? I believe that's another name for Cupid in ancient Rome. Um, so it's kind of like, how would you, for example, like meet people when you're meeting them online? Like, what are certain things that you certain openers that you'll use, like certain introductions that you'll use, however
Hmm.
you want to call it.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's other names for it too.
100%.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure there's
So
right. There's a lot.
it's one of the things I teach in my course.
Cool,
how to
cool, cool.
start a messaging conversation. So plain and simple, the number one thing you got to understand is this person for you? Number one, you have to learn how to vet people out. So whatever your offer is, whatever your product is, whatever your service, you have to understand if this person is your avatar, your client avatar, the person you're meant to serve, then let's go in there and let's look at their page and let's see if we're meant to serve them in the first place. And the reason I'm saying that is because one of the biggest things I learned is if you try serving everybody, you don't serve anybody. So if you go out in the world trying to serve every single person, you're going to lose. We're not here to serve every person. You need to be the superhero for the people that you're meant to serve. And that's not a huge group of people. That's actually pretty a small group of people. But in that small group, it's big enough to be able to give you what you need.
Just a few million, right?
Um, right? So understanding that is super important. Now, when you go into the vetting process, when you go into somebody's page, you have to look for key indicators that are going to tell you, is this person my person? And what I mean by key indicators is, let's say you're selling, or actually, you know what, we'll use mine. I'm selling business coaches. I'm selling business coaching for health and fitness coaches. So what I'm going to do is off the bat, I know my target audience is what? Health and fitness coaches, health and fitness trainers, health and fitness instructors. So when I go into somebody's page off the bat, I want to make sure that I look for key indicators like if I'm pushing online coaching, I want to make sure that this person's online
Yeah.
or they're steering towards online. I'm not going to go approach a coach who has nothing to do with online and he's just coaching at a gym. My job is not to get him removed out of his gym and do online coaching. My job is to work with movers because that's who my client avatar is. Another coach could be different, but I created my client avatar to be that, to be somebody who's a mover. So I'm going to go in there
Your
and make
client
sure that I can.
avatar.
Exactly. So I'm going to make sure I go in there and I look for, hey, is this person in the online space? Or maybe they're looking to get into the online space and they're already putting indicators in there. Great. Check that off. Is this person, first off, even a health and fitness coach? Checked off. Awesome. Is this person, based on the things I see, do they have key things that I can relate with? Check that off if I do. So there's a lot of things I look at. I look at their stories. I look at their highlights, the things that they like, the things that they don't like. Do they have a family? Do they not have a family? Why? Because when I hit that conversation, is going to be based off some of those things or one of those things. So I want to be also to somebody who can relate with my avatar because that's going to create connection. One of the biggest things is connections start with what? With relatability. So when you go to a bar, right? When you go to a bar, there's always some people on that you'll be in your group. And there's sometimes that one guy like, man, I don't like that dude just walked into the bar. I don't really like him. He gives me a weird vibe. That's gonna happen, right? But guess what? Later on, next thing you know, that guy ends up knowing somebody else in our group, starts talking to us, and that guy says, "Oh, I graduated from UM," and then your boy that said, "Oh, I don't like that guy. He gives me a weird vibe." He's like, "Oh shit, I graduated from UM too," and now they start talking. Why are they starting to
The
talk? Even though
relatability.
the relatability,
They had that common ground
UM.
because of that. Because of what? Yeah, the
Exactly.
relatability.
So why do you think it goes back to content being so important? And why is content so driven when I talk about it in my courses? Because if your content relates with one of your avatars, instant connection, instant connection. So your first 12 pieces of content tell everything about you and your page. So you want to make sure that you're cycling through a good amount of different type of content that talks about you, your product, your services, and your personality, your authority, your credibility, because that's going to give that person enough information to also be able to connect with them. They might see in there like, damn, Anthony loves sports memorabilia because I spoke about it. Holy shit, I love sports memorabilia too. And now right there, that's an instant connection. So off the bat, even part of that vetting process, I like to look for things that really stick out that might be something very relatable to what I like because I can start a conversation with that. So look, the other day I found this guy who was a sports junkie like I was.
Nice.
Dolphin fan, loves sports memorabilia. I opened up and I was like, "Hey brother, how's it going, man?" Another thing is I'm very me. I'm very friendly about it. I'm not gonna be like, "Hey," like a robot. "Hi, my name is." No, you want to be you. You want to be you. You want to be authentic.
I get it.
So
I I,
that's
I get it because I've had messages like that where
all the time. I just swipe out and
you
delete.
obviously
So
much more, but yeah.
So I'm like, yo, brother, how's it going, man? Yo, your post, your Dolphins post popped up to my Explorer feed, and every time I come across a Dolphin fan, I'm like, yo, I have to connect because you know how it is. There's very unloyal Dolphin fans out there. Laugh out loud. Boom, right there. That's an easy way. Introduction, start the conversation. We spoke about the Dolphins for a little bit. Yo, where do you think the season's going? What do you think about Tua? Yo, did you see that play? Yo, done. Then from there, then we can start dissecting into other areas. Then from there, I can ask them like, yo, bro, by the way, I noticed you're a coach. How long you been doing that for? Boom. Oh, I've been doing this. Pop, 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 pop. Then he's might ask me like, and it's just now you go into your what I like to call coach mode. Now you build the relationship, you connected. Now you're directing the questions the right way that you want on a messaging
And it's naturally.
conversation, and it's natural. It's just natural, and I'm very too. I'm about like a lot of people like to just dive into this whole like message, this whole paragraph, and then ask a question. It's like, guys, less is better many times if you just ask the right questions. And often you be natural about it depending on what they're answering. Like you don't have to be robotic, and don't marry the script. First of all, don't marry a script. Understand that your script can be alternated, it can be changed throughout
Because
different
it'll sound robotic
conversations,
if you
and it
do
won't
that. I
sound
think you're right, right.
exactly. Use those scripts and just kind of
You're
just
teaching
to
sales training now, right?
read.
As well. Like that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think you told me you
Teaching
have like
sales training. Yep. So that's what I'm doing for these coaches for health and fitness. I'm teaching them sales training, content building, whole process,
business
system,
scaling and like a
systems,
lot of
business
stuff
scaling.
that's
Yep, exactly. So I would say like off the bat, like make sure that when you're directing people with the right questions, that you're like you said, don't sound like a robot and be you. Throw in your if you like to say LOL and that's what you like to always put laugh out loud and you like to put your little emojis, that's who you are. Do it because they're gonna sense that that's who you are. I love using the fire emoji, I love using the rocket emoji. Those are my emojis that I use even with my friends. So to people, it's gonna come off very natural because you're gonna write it off very natural. And don't even be scared to like I know people who freak out and they'll make a little verbiage mistake and then they unsend it to fix it. Don't do that. Like honestly, you don't have to do that. People, you want to show your real side. Like you're human too. You're not perfect. So believe it or not, those little tiny things to the people, they're like, damn, this is cool. This is really a real person. This is a real person.
yeah,
Like because it doesn't come off robot. If you make little error mistakes, like you make little sentence mistakes, like who cares? You did a little run on sentence. Who cares? You're not perfect. You're human, and it shows you who you are. So don't go too crazy about worrying about those little things because you believe it or not, it's going to actually help you later on because that person is going to be like, damn, I feel comfortable because this person isn't a perfect person. To them in their eyes, you're like the superhero, but even the superhero is
right.
not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. So the most important things that you're looking for in these messaging conversations before you can transition into a call, which is what I tell everybody, is you got to look for what's the pain point and problem. If you don't have the pain point and problem, there's no reason why you should be getting on a call with somebody. If you weren't able to get that out of them on a messenger or on a message, you can't move them over into a call. You're not gonna know to what even talk about. You don't even know if you can even help them. So you have to understand by getting the pain point and problem, can I even help this person once I get that pain point and problem answered? And then from there, it's obviously like based on the pain point and problem, we'll come through the questions like what are your biggest struggles, challenges, and then you also want to see what have they tried before, have they tried anything before, how long have they been stuck there. These are other little things that are going to help you later on to be able to understand like how long has its pain point and problem been there for, how serious is it, what have they tried before, because maybe they have tried coaching for before and now you understand when if you
Right.
do go on a call with this person, they might give you objections that have to do with like, well, I tried this before and it didn't work. So you need to prepare yourself by asking the right questions and vetting these people out. Now moving forward with that, then you can go into other questions that you can
Yeah.
reinforce their level of commitment. You can reinforce how important is this. You can ask them like, hey, like how important is this for you to want to be able to change that problem that you're going through? And obviously you want to write it out what the problem is, but change blank, and then see what it is, and then challenge that. You want to challenge their commitment. So challenge their commitment a little bit. And then from there, when it's on the messenger, that's usually enough information to redirect them on a call, because you don't want to keep going because then it just prolongs.
Absolutely.
You don't want to
Yeah.
lose it either. So just understand it should be short. Short. When I mean short, it shouldn't be like a whole entire day or two of talking on a messenger. No, it should only be like a good, maybe if you're straight lining, if you're going like literally back to back to back, it should only take you maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. It really should. Now, if obviously if the person's busy and they respond to you different times throughout the day, it should take you maybe a day at most, literally. um but from there, what I would move them over is now hitting them with a question or with a statement, kind of saying like, hey, look, I truly see where this is going. I've honestly helped a lot of individuals like yourself. And I never say I can help you, because they get that all the time. Oh, I can help you, I have the answers for you. People don't want to hear that. People, it's more of like position
What
yourself
have
and
you
have the.
found that for you specifically with the amount of success that you've gotten, that I know a lot of people are going to watch, and I go to the experts to learn stuff. You're one of the
Mhm.
experts right now, right? So I get to learn with you, and if I could provide value, I'll provide value in any area that I can. Maybe off the call or on it, maybe. But what are little slight things that, for example, kind of go with that, like for yourself, when you're breaking it down, that you have found that serve you in your process of kind of going about and moving with that.
When you mean by sir, you mean by like worked for me, like, and you're saying in the messaging.
Yeah, specifically for that, because like you have a unique way of being able to do it. Um, uh,
Mhm. So I would say off the bat, when I'm trying to transition somebody off from a messaging into a call, into scheduling a call with me, I make it about like, creating urgency around it. So another most important thing is, a lot of people like to just like prolong things, or feel like, oh, let me just get this person later, or let me tell them like this to schedule them far ahead. And it's just like, you gotta strike when the iron's hot.
right.
um and that's one of the most important things. So you want to be able to get that person off from that messenger quickly onto a call. Does a call mean it's going to happen today? Probably, maybe not. But do you want to present it like that? Yeah, I've always presented like that. So like I was saying, I usually say like, hey, look, I totally see where this is going. I've actually helped a lot of individuals like yourself who are struggling with X, Y, and Z, and want X, whatever result it is that they're looking for. um I know I know there's a lot for me to text on here, and it's going to take forever, but I would love to see how I can best serve you. No strings attached. How about we set up a call within the next 24 to 48 hours? Or what I like to sometimes say, if I feel like that person's like I'll be like, hey, are you free for a call right now? If I'm free. If I'm free, then I'll do it. If I'm free, and I'll be like, hey, are you free from call right now? And if not, I'll tell them within the 24 to 48 hours. You usually don't want to wait longer than 48 hours, because that kind of just like fizzles out.
You have a strategy that you use, by the way. I'm gonna break it down for you. So, there's little minuses to what you do. For example,
Mm-hmm.
you'll look for a way to build a relationship with somebody. So you'll try to find some area of commonality.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll do that. You'll look for the pain and pleasure, if there's any kind of solutions, to see if they're your specific kind of client avatar. All together, when you're doing that from the beginning, even before that, you're in the mindset of already giving. You're here to serve, but you're here on a
Yep.
mission. You're here intentionally, because you get me. You're professional, growing his brand, growing his business. A lot of people could use your help, and a lot of people could make more money with you, right? And then, what's your Instagram, really quickly, for all the people that are still listening to like now? I don't
It's
know.
Mendez Fitness, Mendez Fitness.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to link that. You'll do that specifically because I know you help a lot of people make more money, and I know you have this class that I'm sure a lot of people are going to get value from. Um, Something else that you do with and behind that is that you already are very, very high value individual because of your branding and your stuff. While doing all those things and keeping it short and simple, you come off very, very strong, and it's really, really good, right? Because people are going to get that impression, which is that strong impression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are some things that you'd share? Maybe it's that, because these could work at any level. At any level, are there any specific like canned openers that you've used, or like of a dialogue of verbatim, more or less like a general dialogue, a general idea of a message that somebody could use, kind of like messaging out, that's like that, with all
Mm-hmm.
these things that you're already doing
So I would say one big
in
thing
that
that I like to
mindset?
do that helps me a lot with my messaging is, once I see that person is already getting to the tailgate where I can ask something like that, Sometimes I like to pop in on a voice note, or I like to show myself on a video. And the reason being is because now you're gonna see that person's gonna see you as a real person. So they're gonna be like, "Damn, I really wasn't talking a robot at all." So even though if they're having good convo and they're giving you information, they probably know it's you already. But if you want to solidify that even more, I like to pop in on a voice note and then tell them what I just said, or show them a video of me reaching out to them, especially that I've been in the space for a while. A lot of people maybe have seen me before. That's gonna be like, oh my God, he actually got in front of me. Oh my God, that's actually his voice. Oh my God, that's really him. And then they can also see like your personality. They'll get to see how you get to see you and how you speak. So what does that do for somebody? So if they hear you and see you and you get them onto a call, they're gonna be more comfortable, because if you're doing a Zoom call, they're already in their mind frame. They're like, oh my God, I know who this person is going to be when I go into the call. I'm not going to be so nervous meeting this person in face for the first time, because now you send them a video. So they're going to be more comfortable because they saw you, they heard you, and now they know how that Zoom call is going to be kind of like more, I guess I would say in their favor. It's going to just be much easier and more relaxed, because they're not just like nervous. Okay, who is this person? Like, how do they look like? How do they really
Right.
sound? You know, like, damn, they're speaking to me directly. That's him. Oh shit. So especially if you're somebody who, especially this helps for people who have good marketing, good branding. You have to show face. Like, don't ever think like just because you're now at the top of the game, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I'll let my sales guys do that. No, guys, like I have my sales teams and I tell them all the time, yo, you got a really good prospect, you got a hot prospect,
Right. 100%.
message me and I'll send them a voice note, or message me and I'll come in real quick and I'll tell them what's up. Because I have guys on my social media, they're setting people up for me. They know how I speak, they know how I write, and they're hitting people up for me. But there's
Smooth,
times
man.
where you got to, when you want to scale, you got to do that. But when you want to seal the deal, I tell my guys, hey, don't hesitate to let me know if you need me to step in here and send a voice note or send a video. And for those who do that, another trick is you can actually pre-record some of these videos and audios. So I even sometimes pre-record them and I send them to my
That's
sales
very
team.
smart.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can have them do it already. So I have one that's like for females and I have one for males. And I have one that's like unisex, where
That's
I'll be like,
it's
yo,
that's called structure.
and you're gonna be like, yo, I'll be like, yo, what's up, sister? How's it going? Yo, I really gotta say, I'm so excited. And those are pre-recorded. And I send them to my team, and whenever they need to use them, they can shoot them, and the person now hears me. And if it's something that I need to say completely different, then I just say, yo, buzz me in, and I'll actually go in there live and I'll do it. But what I want to tell brands is big, and people who are getting to a big level, don't ever think that you're too good for somebody. You're not. And if anything, you're gonna get more sales because people already, they're so excited about you as the brand and company, because you're already somebody well known. You going in there is only going to solidify the deal even more. So you really want to close that deal, show up, show your face, let them hear your
I
voice. It's
get
going
that.
to really seal
It's
the
true.
deal for you. So not for once, don't ever think you're too good for somebody, a prospect, a call, or anything. Like, look at guys like Brad Lee, Gary Vee, and Milet. Look at all these guys. They show up and they'll talk to people all the time, and they're not thinking that they're too good for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's really them
Absolutely.
many times. Yeah, they have their teams like I do. They have their teams and their teams are doing stuff, but when they need to show up or they want to, they'll do it. They're not here to think that, hey, I'm above you all and I'm never going to show up to a call or talk to a person who might not be well known right now. No, guys, like, don't ever for once think that you got to be humble throughout this whole process if you want to make sure that you get the success and you help somebody at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you're in this to help other people. You're not in this because you think you're the best. You're
I
not.
think a lot of the time it has to do with like how you feel like inside, because I think as you become more successful, certain people around you, and it's kind of like, for example, like this, when you kind of start doing more and more and more like for yourself and like your life, you're going to have people that may agree or may disagree with certain ideologies because you don't fit their paradigm of how you used to be, because you've changed and change a lot of the time, because life has changed and it's going to constantly change whether you like it or you don't. It's kind of like you kind of have to change, so why don't you make it serve you and serve others? While you're doing that, you're going to naturally be growing. You're reading books, you get me, you're surrounding yourself with winners, You're doing all these things that are positioning you and making you better in life. Not just, you get me, yourself, but just with everything. So for yourself, I think like what you meant is like a lot of the time people don't grasp that understanding because change is going to be part of the progress when you're reaching higher levels,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like for yourself, I'm sure that you've probably had people and they're like, "Oh, Anthony, you've changed," or something along.
Oh, 100%.
The people that I think are going to serve you and have your best interests, and sometimes that is with good intentions. I think a lot of the time it's going to be people that want to see you do better. They kind of clap for you when you're like
Mm-hmm.
doing better. A lot of people are not going to clap for you. So it's
Oh, 100%. And there's another thing that goes with that is going back to the people who you allow in your space too. That's going to be super important. So I always tell people all the time, you got to protect your energy and put your energy where it
right.
needs to be. So by protecting your energy even goes with prospecting. Like if you see that somebody's not serious and they're eating bullshit and they're just trying to get as much as they can out of you, well, you got to protect your energy. You got to know when the fine line needs to get cut, and also need to know when to shut that off, because your energy is important. You got to put your energy for the right people. So if you're not putting your energy for the right people, then you're
Everything,
not
man.
making good use of your time. And then the same thing goes with your team, with the people around you. Is you got to put energy towards the right people. And if you see that there's energy of individuals that are coming into your space to disrupt their space, well, you got to eliminate that off completely. You got to remove that out of your team, because if not, it's going to hurt the rest of your team. So especially as you become a leader and you're building teams, now it's not just about you anymore, it's
It's
about your
exciting.
team. And it's exciting. So you have to make sure you're the best leader for your team. And that's one of the biggest things, that when you're moving into the scaling portion, you got to understand that you have to learn now new coaching tactics, because
Absolutely.
you're not coaching clients anymore. You're coaching your coaches. You're coaching your sales guys. You're coaching your team. And that's a whole nother ball game, because you got to coach them to learn how to coach other people effectively and still deliver the message, in their own way, but still on what you built. So
Through your models,
understand.
mindset, processes, procedures, and everything that if they want to get a more in-depth view, I'm sure they can sign up for your
Exactly.
program, which is great,
Exactly.
right? I'd say it is. So, like, I mean, go on, please. I just want to
Yeah. So
kind of throw
so I
that
was
in
gonna
there.
say,
It's
and
marketing
then with your
message. Buy it.
team,
Hey, man,
and
it's good. Invest in
all
yourself.
day.
I had Vic's a multimillionaire. I'm not sure if you know him or if you don't. He pretty much. I'm always trying to connect with everybody that
Mhm.
I identify with. Because if I identify with you, I'm gonna be like, okay, I can have some kind of commonality with that person. Let me build a relationship with them. They line up for me. They check out. It's kind of like he'll tell me, he's like, Noel, just keep investing in yourself. You get me? He's wildly successful. He owns a company. It's called
Mhm.
Blackstone Medical. It's an Inc. 5000, Inc. 500, Inc. 5000 company in Florida. And these are just the Inc. companies. So I think I'm not sure if this is. I think it's like everywhere. I think it is. He's got Lamborghinis. He's got kind of like the Ferraris. He's got the Rolls Royces. He's got the mansion. He's a CEO of like those companies. Because I'm always trying to hook up with like everybody that I identify with.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like he'll tell me, no, I'll just keep investing in yourself. Buying your program is a self investment. You get me? I'm sure that every time you've invested in yourself, Anthony, like you've leveled up at some level. Like you
Oh,
kind
100%.
of just got better because
And I want to say one thing real quick,
please.
that I think a lot of people they get confused or they get overwhelmed with. When you invest in yourself and you get a new course, you got to understand that every course, every investment you make, every coach you make an investment with, they're all going to have their own system. There's going to be a lot of similar components, and then there's going to be other new different a lot of people have different strategies
Nuances.
and tactics and nuances. Your purpose is not to remove your system and replace it with theirs. What you need to do is grab what stuck out to you the most, what can serve as a catalyst into what you're doing now that's working already, and then implement that. Because
That's
I think a
genius,
lot
by the
of
way.
people, and
The way you
thank you,
described it,
because
I like the way you said it. That's genius, Anthony.
thank you. Because one of the biggest problems I see with a lot of coaches and people in the business space and entrepreneur space is that they're like, oh my God, there's all this great information.
Genius
There's
idea.
all this information. Oh my God, like I just took this course. I took that course. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then what I tell people all the time is don't also be the person who, I have a word for it. It's called infobesity. Don't be a person who's taken all this information and just indulging on it and then not really doing anything with it, or you're manipulating your information because you learned this other course and now you're changing your whole structure over and over again every time you take a new course. You're not going anywhere. At the end of the day, what's most important is the action you're taking. You learn, apply, and then continue doing what works for you. And that's something that when I take my courses with other individuals and I'm investing in other courses, I just invested in a $20,000 course.
It's good, man.
And
Congratulations. Those are good.
thank
Those
you.
are good.
And, first thing what we're talking about is just like, Anthony, what works for you? What is working for you? What are you getting your highest returns on? I want you to continue doing that. Now, where can I help you? And that's what best coaches know how to do that. When they're in court, best coaches have their own course. They know how to do that. They know how to identify that and tell you, okay, what is working for you now? I want you to continue doing that. And where can we help and serve you? Let's start tackling that. And then that's what I do is when I'm learning these new stuff, I'm not trying to now reframe all these new things into the things that are working. I'm trying to look for the things that I'm like, man, that's what I was missing. That's what I needed for this part of my system that wasn't generating the highest results or wasn't giving me the highest return. I need to shift that and put that in here. And that's why that $20 investment happened, $20,000 investment happened. But it's not because I'm going to go out there and reframe my whole entire course. So guys, I just want you to understand that when you're doing all this stuff, the most important thing is you're taking action with the steps that you already know that work. And then just look for the things that need to be part of your system from other coaching platforms, other coaching programs you learn from, and implement that. And you know what's most important about these coaching programs that I invest in? One of the biggest things, and we're going to go back to it. One of the biggest reasons why I invest into coaching programs is because, believe it or not, I tell this all the time. If you want to roll with the big dogs, you got to buy your friends. And I'm
You
a
mean like
huge
pay to
person.
win?
Paid. Yep. You have to pay yourself you have to pay to get your friends. So if you want to become friends with Brad Lee, with Gary Vee, with Ed Milet, you have to pay your way in. And that's by investing in their courses, investing in their stuff. And that's where I see a lot of the value is I pay into these courses because I want to get connected with the big person. I want to become friends with that person. I want to be friends with the ecosystem that's in there more than even just a course by itself. I'm paying to get into the space. And that's another way I tell people to look at all the time is even when you're investing in my programs, I tell people all the time, don't just look at this as a program you're getting. You're getting an ecosystem you're going to be part of, a family of winners, of people who are striving for success, other coaches who you're going to have a network in here that you might not find in other places around you in this specific area. And that's one of the biggest things that I identify because to me, that's super important. To me, going back to how I love networking, that's one of my favorite ways to network is by buying myself into groups and then generating and pulling from that ecosystem the people I want to connect with. So that's what I would tell people when you're getting to courses, workshops, all this stuff, you need to approach it with that mindset.
It's kind of hard to add to that because I don't think you could or you should because it was perfect. I mean, wow. I mean, this was powerful. I'm not sure if you kind of like want to like. Can I ask you a question, like myself?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What do you do to maintain your self belief like really really high? Because I just want to get your perspective and pick on this because like I really I have there's a bunch of things that I could tell you that are like just I'm like I like this about you, I like that. Like like how would you, for example, like say like how do you maintain it like really really like high like in not to say that I don't, but I'm saying like for yourself, I
Yeah.
just want your perspective on this. Like
How do I stay believing every single day?
yeah, I mean like how do you have it like how did you build your self belief to make it like just like shoot through the
Yeah.
roof? And I wouldn't ask just anybody this
Yeah.
question. I'm asking you though, which is
So I would
cool.
say the most important thing to know is, first of all, everybody's different. Everybody operates differently. Everybody's going to have a different drive, and that's okay. And that's why not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's meant to be at a certain level, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why that's why we have other job positions. That's why we have sales experts who just want to be sales experts. That's why we have the COOs, the owners, the managers, the reps, because not everybody's meant to be the entrepreneur or the owner. In my case, for me, I've just always been a believer. I've always had that drive in me. I've always had that mentality since day one. That's just who I am. It's built in my DNA. And obviously through the time being, I've grown in it and I've learned it, and that I have such a big passion for it. Most importantly, I wear this bracelet in my hand all the time. It says believer.
Believer. That like Jesus, or like is that just like a positive like reminder?
It's just a
I'm
positive.
okay.
It's
Cool, cool,
just
cool,
one of
cool,
these
cool.
positive reminders. So
I
that's
love
who I
Jesus.
am.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
I'm, I'm a believer,
Believe,
man. I'm
believe.
a believer every single day. Not for and when I
Praise
mean
you, praise
believer is I believe that I make mistakes, but I believe I'm going to get over my mistakes. I believe I'm going to fail, but I believe I'm going to succeed off my failures, and I believe I'm going to make it to the top. And I think the most
you.
important
And higher than that,
and
because
higher
I
than that.
think, I think a lot of people would say that you've made it to the top, right? I think you're at the top of your game. It's just like now breaking more ceilings to like reach
Yeah,
higher levels. I I,
exactly.
I would say
The
that because like
different
you're sharp as
tiers.
a tack. You get me. You have passion. You have enthusiasm. You're an expert at what you do. You're an expert in your field, at your craft, right? And it's now kind of just going now. All right, I'm at the top of my game, so it's like let's reach higher because
Mm.
I think I already think you're wildly successful myself. I know that you do too, right? Because you are, and I think that's like a really good thing. That it's just more that you could do now. Because I mean, what are some of your motivating factors as well? Like
So
in
I'll tell
addition
you
to
off.
like the other one.
I'll tell you off the bat. And one of my biggest things when it comes to motivation is I think motivation is good, but obviously I'm going to say action is the greatest. So you have to learn how to use that fuel to make you drive into the actions that are needed. But for me, I think the most important it's my why factor, and that really goes down to my deep rooted why and figuring out what that why is. If everybody gets a chance, you should try this exercise called 7 levels deep. I teach it in my course. I actually got pieces of it from one of the other from Dean Graziosi and Tony
That's where I got
Robbins.
it from.
It's one of my favorite exercises. I've tweaked
About their
some of it.
course.
Yeah, they're great. I learned this about 4 or 5 years ago, and then I tweaked it into my own version. But I
Cool,
would
cool,
say
cool.
going over the
Mendez
seven
2.0.
levels deep, going
That's what
over
I'm
that
trying.
7 level deep is insanely powerful because you actually really get down to that deep rooted why. Because many times we don't even know what our why is. So people will tell you, "Oh, this is my why," but is that really your why? Have you really dug into it? And that same thing, and that same exact method goes into sales, like goes into prospecting. Like you have to dig deep. You have to dig deep. You don't want to have to just stay in the surface. You want to get deep into the ocean. So that's one thing I tell myself every time. Whenever I have some slight of self-doubt, I do the 7 levels deep exercise. I open up that exercise and I do it. And I remind myself, this is why I do this
Powerful.
every single time. And this is what I tell people all the time in my bulletproof mindset portion of my course, which is the beginning. Whenever you feel a certain way, whenever you're doubting yourself or your fears are creeping up, I want you to go back to that first phase and remind yourself. I want you to do those tools again, do those
Right.
exercises over and over again, because you're going to need to. Because I tell people all the time that even the best of the best have to go through that, have to go through that every single time because we're human. And then for me, the way I look at it is like I have no other option. This is my only option. When I tell myself this is my only option to success, well, then I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
There is no other option for me. There's no other option. I'm not going to go work for somebody else. I'm not going to go be a regular, freelancer. I'm not going to go, do something I don't love. This is my only option. If I have only one option, then what do I have to do? I need to take action on that every single day. So for me, that's how I operate and that's how I get myself going. And I think for other people out there who might have a little harder time with this is simply going back to that why, identifying that why, going through the 7 levels deep, which I know we can share that information with them later if they need that. We can send them a PDF of what that looks like.
Do you have a link
um,
for that by any chance that
so
they
i
could
can
be able
i
to
can
get the?
create one. I'll just create a separate PDF with a link and then we can send them that.
Cool.
And once if they ask you, you can send them that tool. So I would say going through that 7 levels deep exercise. And then I would also say another important thing is when it comes to like motivation, or when it comes to like taking action, it's more about like going back and asking yourself who you are as a person. Who are you? What great qualities do you have? What makes you who you are? And then that ties in why you're doing it. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes we forget who we are, and we forget our qualities. And sometimes you have to just be reminded of like, this is who I am as a person, and this is why I'm great at what I do, and this is why I'm going to be highly successful. And when you can
Right.
remind yourself that, it's super super important, because it's going to help you streamline you to taking the actions you want to take. Because hey, like I said, we're human, and sometimes we're going to get knocked off, we're going to get rocked off the ship, and we got to just bring it back to alignment so we can go straight sailing. And it just takes sometimes using these little tactics and tools to just reframe the mind again, get you back on course, and boom, and there you go. And then another thing, if you're somebody who responds well to sudden triggers, like put things on your phone, put things in your area, in your environment, that will trigger you to remember something, or trigger you to take action, or trigger you to get fueled up.
It's
So
a good
I would
strategy.
say trigger markers. I tell some of my clients all the time, like, set up triggers around your environment, whether it's in your phone, on your fridge, in your wall, whatever, reminders. Like, set up triggers that have sayings, pictures, whatever you respond better. Sometimes it's audio. Like, you can set up a trigger where it's a reminder, and it's an audio of yourself telling yourself something. Maybe it's a trigger and it's written, and it's just it's a reminder showing you something you wrote. Or maybe it's a reminder alerting you about a certain task that you need to do. Whatever it is, set up that trigger. Or maybe even a picture. Maybe it's just a trigger of a picture of a video that you need to see every single time to just really spark you up. But whatever that trigger is, set it up around your environment, where you hang around the most, where you have your own space, so that way you're constantly being triggered by those good things to just keep you going and moving forward every single day.
That's powerful, Anthony. Is there anything else that you get me? Because I don't want to you get me. I'm sure you have a bunch of things to do throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
like yourself. What are some things that, for example, because I think this is one of the best talks that we've had. I had one with Anthony. I'm not sure if you know Anthony. He kind of grew up with us in like, the area. No,
Mm-hmm. I know
Tony
who you're talking about.
Lisinko.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. I had one with him, one with Brad, and this one's the third one with you, which I think is pretty cool because it's gonna kind of open doors. Like, for example, let's say that I want to be able to meet somebody else. It's like, hey, listen, I have this podcast. This could be of tremendous value to you, which I'm gonna use to kind of just connect more people to more people and kind of just build relationships. I think the first thing that you have to do when you're building anything that has to do with sales is you have to align yourself. Once you're a good person and you're
Mm-hmm.
solid and you know that for a fact, you get me. Now everything else can kind of fall into place because you've already won, like, I think, like maybe like 60-70% of the battle.
Yep.
If you want to use a war terminology,
I
right?
have a saying for that. You have to be selfish in order to be selfless.
How would you describe that? If that, and maybe like if you want to leave like any like final words, that would be
Mhm.
like really
Like,
good yourself.
I guess one of the biggest things is, if you want to serve people and you want to serve a lot of people, you need to be selfish in a good
Like
way,
you.
in the sense of, you need to be able to be the best version you can you got to create the best version of yourself so you can show up for everybody in the most impactful way. And this doesn't only mean for sales, for your business. This also means for your family, your friends, the people around you, and your business, your team. You have to be selfish in the sense of, you want to become the best version of yourself, improving on yourself, investing in yourself every single day, because then you could be selfless and give more and more every single day to everybody out there. But if you don't do that, then you can't give. If you're always trying to be selfless and you're not making yourself the best version, well, then your giving is going to stop at a certain point, because you don't know what else to give. You don't know how to give even more. You're not getting yourself better to give more, and that's not good either. So you want to make sure that you invest in yourself, you put time for yourself, you grow in yourself, you make sure that you have that time for you, so you can put more into other people out there. And then the last and final thing that I will tell people all the time is this one saying that I love to say all the time: the world doesn't stop for you. So why are you going to stop for the world? And what I mean by that is
That's deep.
doesn't doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how you act, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter how you perform, whether it's good, bad, sad, mad, healthy, unhealthy. The world doesn't give a shit. The world keeps on moving. People keep on moving. It's the same thing, even in as sad as cold it might sound. When somebody passes away, even a family member, you might have 1 day to a few weeks where it really hits hard and you kind of stop certain things. You're still moving because you got to keep moving. You stop certain things. But guess what? After a week or two, it keeps going,
Keeps going.
keeps going. So even when you pass away, the world doesn't stop for you. It doesn't. So why are you going to stop for the world? You can't. Don't be the one holding yourself back from succeeding. Don't stop yourself from growing. Don't stop yourself from taking action. Don't stop yourself from starting a business. Don't stop yourself from meeting new people. Don't stop yourself from making new friendships. Don't stop yourself from networking. Don't stop yourself from getting into the right relationships. Whatever it is you want to do, don't stop yourself from doing it because the world is not going to stop for you. And now that you know that, you need to start going and taking action and start thinking about how can I be the most healthiest selfish person for myself every single day so I could be the most selfless individual out there in the world pouring on massive value.
It's a bomb right there, baby. You see, if I had the Brad Lee bomb thing, I would drop a bomb, but I don't have any of that stuff yet. So we're just gonna say that was a bomb. Hey man, that was a bomb. It was. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop the recording now. Ladies and gents, I'm gonna let me see. I'm gonna do the sign off right here. Cause it's all good. That's why. All right. For those of you guys right now, this is Anthony Mendez. Many of you kind of just stayed till the end, and that's awesome. That's fantastic for you guys. You guys got a lot of value out of it, right? Just make sure to keep Anthony and myself in mind. Anthony's social media, if you guys want to be out there and just kind of curious on his course, which if a lot of you guys have tuned in till this point, you can kind of think Google it. I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said that the greatest investment that you can make is in yourself, and that guy was one of the first millionaires in this country. So I mean, just take it from you get me one of the founding fathers that this country, still blessed, to have the freedom and a lot of things that we do. And take it from Mendez, you get me, and a lot of other, great people. So you guys can do that. Mendez's Fitness is his Instagram, so that's gonna be Mendez Fitness, okay, Fitness. And you guys can go out there and you guys can check him out. You guys can shoot him a message. You guys can go on his social media, on his Facebook, on his Twitter, on his Instagram. You get me. And through there, in addition to clicking on all that social media and subscribing, you'll be able to get more of him. You get me on a day-to-day basis, and kind of just have you get me somebody that's going to be able to shoot you with inspiration, and somebody that's going to be able to really take you. You get me to a whole other level in life for yourself. You get me, particularly becoming wealthier and becoming a lot more fit. And if it's a combination of both, then great. Maybe you're a great person that you get me now has an opportunity that has now just popped up there that would be really good for you now if you take advantage of it, now, as you did. So you guys can go ahead there and you can check out his Instagram. I'm gonna stop the recording and Anthony, I'm not sure if you want to kind of finish it off with the last word, if you want to.
I'll say, guys, most important thing, referencing back to that statement that I said, just go out there and take action. Just go out there and take action. And just remember, at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for you. And the only person that's going to do it for you is yourself. And nothing is given. You have to go get it.
Boom, there it is. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming in and tuning in. It's the Life Success and Winning Social Dynamics with Anthony Mendez and your hosts.